2. Hey guys, Chapter 8, Section 1 here, 8.1 video if you're in the same book as us in class. And the essential question is, how can I find the circumference of a circle? So we're going to be talking a lot in class about what is circumference. And I'm going to give you a little background here too. So Archimedes is the guy you can thank for circumference. Archimedes was a pretty interesting mathematician for his day. He's born in ancient Greece, which if you don't know where that is, it's right here. It's really, really small out in the Mediterranean Sea. I've never been, but I really want to go. It's outside of Italy here. You can see it in green. So here's what we know about Archimedes. He was a mathematician. He was an engineer for his time. He was a scientist, and he loved studying the stars. He was also an astronomer. He did a lot of different things, and he discovered or found out a lot of different things. So he's really well known for this whole list of stuff. I could go on and on, but he's well known for studying circles, spheres, cylinders. He had a big interest in geometry, calculus. He was interested in gravity. He studied the earth, the moon, the stars. He wrote books. He invented formulas. He really was interested in optics and light. He did a ton of things. But you might know him for the famous phrase, Eureka. Have you ever heard of that? Eureka, I found it. Supposedly, the rumor is, or that what's been passed through history, is one day Archimedes was in the bathtub and he had this amazing idea that popped into his head. He jumped out of the bathtub and yelled, "Eureka!" And he started running down the streets yelling it, supposedly naked. So that's the story of Eureka and Archimedes. Who knows if it's true or not, but, you know, he's known for it, so it's kind of interesting. Okay, so what's something interesting about Archimedes? Well, have you ever done this before? I hope you haven't, but you've heard of this where you can take the magnifying glass and use sunlight to start a fire. Have you heard of that before? Archimedes was really interested in that. In fact, he had figured out that if you had the ability to start fire with the magnifying glass and sunlight, that maybe you could do it widespread. So he had this great idea. He decided that to protect his island that he lived on, what if he built these huge, basically spyglasses, where if the sun would hit them just right, they could use it to light boats on fire that might be attacking them. Because he lived on this big, large island, and so the only way the island could be attacked from outsiders is from the water. So if they saw boats coming, they could take the light and beam it on the ship and light it on fire. Pretty interesting concept, isn't it? Here's something he was also really well known for. Studying circles. Circles is not as exciting as lighting boats on fire, but it is still interesting. So the circumference of a circle is when you want to measure how far around the circle you can go. And the idea behind it is like if you were to wrap a piece of string all the way around the circle and then pull the string tight and measure it with a ruler, how long is it? And he discovered the idea that if you measured across the circle, which is called the diameter, you could use that number to calculate circumference. So here's what he found out. That weird little number pi, that 3.14 decimal, is like taking the circumference of the circle and dividing it by the diameter. He's known for figuring this out. So, okay, let's get into what we're doing today. So if we have a circle and we know how to measure the diameter, then we also know that in the center we could draw a line off that center point, and that would be called the radius. So those are some important parts of the circle that you should know. The diameter goes all the way across the circle, and the radius only goes halfway from the center. And those are really easy to measure with a ruler. What's not easy to measure is the circumference around the circle. It's pretty hard to take a ruler and measure how far you can go around a circle. It's not really possible. So we need a formula. The circumference formula helps us out, and it's this nice little formula. It's that weird little number pi times diameter. So C equals pi d. Pi is 3.14. It's actually a longer decimal than that, but I'm going to round it to 3.14. And d is standing for diameter. And we're going to try some problems. Let's do an example. So imagine you have a wristwatch that looks like this, and the watch measures 28 millimeters across. Now, it used to be really cool to have small, skinny little watches, and now it's kind of changing to like the bigger and thicker your watch is cool. And we also have Apple Watches and all sorts of other things. But if we were going to measure the circumference of our watch, what we're going to do is measure all the way around it. Well, we're going to use a formula to figure that out. So if C equals pi times d, in this problem, what's d? What's the diameter? Oh, it's 28. That's what's labeled in the diagram. So we're going to grab a calculator and we're going to multiply 3.14 times 28. And on the calculator, if you multiply that together, that's about 87.92. I'm using the wiggly equal sign because I know I'm doing some rounding. 3.14 is not actually what pi is. Pi is this never-ending decimal that goes forever, and it's really, really long. But we round it to 3.14, so the math's a little bit easier for us to calculate. And don't forget, it's in millimeters. That's our measurement. So all the way around the watch is 87.92 millimeters, and there's our solution. Now, before I switch screens here, take a look at my work. See how each step is clearly labeled C equals, C equals, C equals, each step all the way down. I got the formula, I've got all the numbers, and then I've got the answer circled. You want your work to look like that. Formula, numbers, answer. There's kind of a pattern to it. Let's try another one. All right, so here is a picture of a Frisbee. It measures from the center out 5 inches, and I want to know what is the circumference. So to find the circumference, we're going to use our formula, C equals pi times d. And we're going to do C equals pi times d, but what's d? What's the diameter? Well, it's not 5. 5 is the radius. 5 only goes into the middle. Diameter is all the way across, which means you'd have to have 5 plus 5. So the diameter is 10 if you go all the way across. So we're going to put a 10 in there. And then we're going to do with our calculator 3.14 times 10. Or I guess you don't totally need a calculator for this one. But I'm going to multiply that out and make that 31.4. And I'm going to use the wiggly equal sign because it's rounding. And I noticed that this is being measured in inches in the picture. So I'm going to write inches. And there's our solution, 31.4 inches around the Frisbee. Again, look at my work. Formula, numbers, the solution, circle the answer. It's very clear, very neat, easy to read. Okay, so you try. See if you can show your work in a neat, organized way. Find the circumference of each of these objects. I'm going to give you 2 problems, an A and a B. So the first one is find the circumference of this coin and find the circumference of this above ground pool. Hit the pause button on your device and go ahead and try both problems and see if you can do this. Okay, so you've now tried both problems. You're totally done with your math. You've got 2 answers and you're ready to check. So let's see how you did on the first one. So we're going to do C equals pi times d. We're going to change d. What's the diameter in this problem? Well, it's not 2 because 2 only goes to the center. We're going to have to do 2 plus 2, which is 4. And then we grab a calculator. 3.14 times 4 is about 12.56. So the answer is circumference equals 12.56, and we're going to write centimeters because it's in centimeters, and we're done. All right, how'd you do on the second problem? The pool. The pool is 14 feet across. And it's summer right now. I wish we had a pool as I'm talking about this. So C equals pi times d. I'm going to replace the d with 14. And then I'm going to use my calculator and I'm going to multiply 3.14 times 14. And if you did that in your calculator, it's 43.96 about. So 43.96 feet, and there's our solution. All right, guys, we will, of course, practice this more in class and probably have more videos on this, but I really hope that your takeaway from the video is that circumference is when you want to go all the way around a circle and measure it. And because that's really hard to do, like you can't grab a ruler and do that, we need a formula. If it's too difficult to do with a ruler, a formula just makes things so much easier. So our formula is C equals pi times d. We have Archimedes to thank for that a little bit. All right, thanks guys. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.